I was never one to believe in ghost stories. Trains were just machines, metal, steam, and tracks leading from one place to another. But that was before I took a journey I was never meant to take. Before I stepped onto a train that shouldn't have existed. It happened 5 years ago, but even now when I close my eyes, I can still hear the whistle and the whispers. I was traveling alone, making my way home after visiting a friend in a distant town. The night was cold, and I had missed the last scheduled train. I remember standing at the deserted station, cursing my luck, when I heard the unmistakable sound of an approaching locomotive. It didn't make sense. There were no more trains that night. But as I looked down the tracks, I saw it. A black, old-fashioned steam train, its headlights cutting through the thick fog. It screeched to a stop, and without thinking, I stepped on board. The moment I entered, I knew something was wrong. The inside of the train was eerily silent. No chatter, no footsteps, just a heavy stillness that made my skin crawl. The passengers sat completely still, dressed in old-fashioned clothing. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow. I took a seat near the back, avoiding eye contact, but I could feel them watching me. The train started moving, but I never felt it lurch forward, as if it was gliding rather than rolling. And then I saw something that made my blood run cold. The reflection in the window didn't match what was inside the train. I could see myself, but the other passengers in the glass looked different. Their faces were rotting, their eyes dark and sunken. And behind me, where there had been an empty seat, a shadowy figure now sat, grinning. Panicked, I shot up from my seat and ran towards the door. The train wasn't stopping. It had no station, no destination. The conductor stood at the front, a tall man with a skeletal grin, his uniform covered in dust and decay. I screamed, demanding to get off. But the passengers all turned to face me at once, their mouths moving in unison as they whispered, "You're already one of us." I looked down at my hands. They were turning pale. My fingertips were ice cold, and my breath came out in short, misty puffs, as if I had stepped into a frozen grave. My body was fading, becoming less human. Desperate, I threw open the door and leaped into the darkness. The moment I hit the ground, I blacked out. When I woke up, I was lying on the station bench, the same place where I had been waiting before the train arrived. The tracks were empty. The station clock showed that no time had passed, but my shoes were covered in black soot, and in my pocket I found an old, rusted train ticket dated 1903. The train was never real, or maybe it was never meant to be real for the living. For weeks I'd tried to convince myself it was just a nightmare, a hallucination. But strange things kept happening. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and hear the sound of a train whistle, faint, distant, but unmistakable. I started seeing shadows move at the edge of my vision, always just out of reach. And then, one night, I got an anonymous letter. No sender, no return address, just a single sheet of paper with a chilling message. "You left too soon. The train will come back for you." If you ever find yourself alone at a station and hear a train that shouldn't be there, don't get on. Because some trains never let you leave.